Okay, it says I'm live. How about that? So it's 1:06 a.m. in the morning. It's February 20th. Um, it's been a bit of a rough couple of days, and I just kind of felt like making a little video about where things are. I did one of these a little while ago where I was talking about kind of things that I wanted to do in with my writing and whatnot. I thought I'd give a little bit of an update on how just things are going with me, for anybody who actually cares. So here we go. Um, Turns out, job thing, it's going much better. I don't want to get into details. I don't typically like to talk about my job in a public forum like this. But let's just say that the stuff that was bugging me about my job last year are kind of starting to dissipate. Lots of new challenges, which for any of my friends that have seen some posts on Facebook recently, you might be seeing some stuff about stress or anxiety and nervousness, imposter syndrome. I'm still dealing with that. There are some days where it just feels like, you know what? I do not have any clue what the hell I'm doing, but I always put my head down, try to get the work done, and I come out of it fine. So I think I give myself too much criticism. I know I've got friends who tell me that I should be fine, but new challenges are always a little scary. So I'm trying to deal with that. So that's a little unsettling. I guess the big thing today is, well, I've got a longtime friend, a friend of mine that I've known for a very, very, very long time, more than 30 years. He got COVID in January, and he's been in the hospital ever since. And right now, he's not doing very good, and it's got me a little down, a little bummed. I got something I'm going to try and send to his wife that she can bring in to him. But it kind of resurfaced this idea that I had before, which was the need to show appreciation and gratitude to people that you have in your life, or people that have had an impact in your life. Something I started doing last year, and as I was reading them tonight, I realized I started doing it in May of last year, but I was writing these letters. I called it my appreciation tour, and I was picking up people that I know from my own life that have given me, that I've had really, really good experiences with, or that have had a real profound effect on me in some ways. So I started writing these letters to thank them, because, you don't really say that kind of stuff. You don't really think about it much until it's too late. You go, all of a sudden somebody's passed away, or someone gets really sick, and you're like, oh my God, I should have told them, I should have said these things, and that kind of stuff. And so I wrote a bunch of letters, and with what's going on with my friend, and worried about him, I thought, you know what, even though I've got these old letters, I need to find a way to get these to the people that I wrote them to. Some of whom I haven't seen in, well, a very, very, very long time for a few of them, and others I've seen recently. But I guess that's the one thing that's on my mind today, is show that gratitude, show that appreciation, tell people out there that they mean things to you. And you know what, us guys, like, men in general, I don't want to generalize. In fact, that's a terrible thing to do. I really shouldn't generalize, but often the media, or often what you see in many different forms of media, whether it's on television or the movies, or to a limited extent, sometimes streaming service as well, guys don't show a lot of emotion, and we don't really show that side of ourselves to say, hey man, you know what? You're a great friend. Thank you so much for being a great part of my life. And so I'm doing my part, and I'm taking the step for me to tell my friends, both men and women, it doesn't matter. You know what, you were awesome. You were a great friend when I needed one, or you treated me really, really well when I really needed it. And I'm going to try and take the time to get those letters out to them. I actually read the letters on camera as videos, but actually I think a printed letter seems like a more personal touch. So not sure what I'm going to do, but I did put that, I did kind of revisit that today. So hopefully we'll see what the future brings. But that right now is the state of affairs. The writing thing, I was talking about the writing thing, so maybe I can tell you about that. I've got some more scripts that I've written. I've got one in the can, actually, that just got approved. Well, I shouldn't say it got approved. I've submitted it. And I have two scripts that I'm working on now. One is a technology related one, and one is one about South Park. And the South Park one I got assigned today, and I'm really excited about it. It's a top 20 South Park, and I don't have to write the whole 20, but it's got some really, really controversial or interesting pieces in it that I have to be very, very mindful of how I write about it. So I'm really interested in that because, I'll sit down and I'll write exactly what I think, and then I have to dial it back and dial it back and dial it back and dial it back. And that's really, really good exercise for a writer, for somebody who's, that you want to write exactly what's going on in the scene. But the truth is, sometimes you can't really say certain things depending on the audience of who's watching and who the target audience is that you're writing for. So that'll give me a really interesting opportunity. I didn't think I was actually going to be fortunate enough to do this, but they backed what I did. So I'm going to be very, very mindful of the tone. So you'll get to see that. Actually, I could look it up now, but you'll have to check it out when it comes out. But now that I say that, I'm actually going to go find it and see. But yeah, it's really interesting. I got paid for my first batch of scripts, so I was really, really happy about that. That was pretty awesome. It's nice to know that you're doing this and you're actually getting a little bit of compensation for it. So that's actually pretty cool. Yeah. So it looks like the one that I'm talking about that has some of the controversial stuff you'll see in late March. Right, so I've got those up on my screen here that I can see. So that's pretty cool. So looking forward to that. I submitted a story about a black book to another. It was for a competition. You could win up to $20,000 if you got the winning story. It was basically about somebody who came into a big chunk of money and how it involved a black book. So I took that story and I submitted it. And I thought it was really, really neat. It's kind of a neat little story. So, who knows what's going to happen with that. And I'm being mindful of what's going on in my world of other things that I'm applying for, just playing with different writing strategies and different writing things that I'm doing. And I will say that I do have Seagulls is done. My Mug by Seagulls book is officially finished. So I did finish that. Actually, I finished the book months ago. It was ready, and with COVID, in fact, I probably would say it was ready maybe May of last year. And I was trying to get press and trying to do all the things for Caravan Chronicles, because that was the one that was ready, that I really wanted to get out. And that was, hit the shelves in February, and that was a success for me. It was successful enough. I got to where I wanted. I made a profit on the self-publishing. I was able to make money from it. And, the people that understood what the book was for, they got it. There's a handful of reviews out there, some good, some not great. And that's okay, because I know what that book was really meant for, which was actually kind of nice seeing some reviews that came back that were a little bit more critical of some of the things that they expected the book to be about. But ultimately, I think it meant that they didn't understand what I was trying to do with the book. And that's okay. It's just not their thing. And it felt really good to be able to take that criticism. With Seagulls is a completely different animal. I'm taking each chapter, and it's a story about some trip that I've taken, or the first few chapters kind of wind you up, get you ready for those. And then you go on this journey of me going to Toronto and New York and LA and doing a road trip, and then going to this other place. And it's all over the place. And it's stories and anecdotes. Man, I can't say that word tonight. And all kinds of cool stuff. And a lot of life lessons, like when I got out of travel, why travel is such a big deal to me. I really, really love it. And right now, the COVID-19 thing, man, it's driving me crazy that I can't go anywhere. I usually travel for my work. And even though, that's going to eventually, we're going to come out of COVID, I don't even know if that's going to come back. But it's not going to stop me from going on vacations and seeing the world when we get back to that place. But I am excited about getting Seagulls into hands of readers. So the book is finished, and my graphic artist right now, he has the final version of the artwork, and I'm just getting it applied to the proof of the book so that I can actually print a proof. So I have say, here's a proof copy. This is what the book will look like. And once he does that, I'll be able to get my proof done. If you want to see just the cover, not the back of the spine, if you want to see the cover, you can go to Matthew Clem, MattheWklem.com, or you can also go to mugbyseagulls.com, MUGGEDBYSEAGULLS. And that'll take you to the Mug by Seagulls book. The MatthewClem.com shows the book on the left-hand side, so check that out. It's really cool, and you can read the first chapter. It's about my first experience in Australia, and it explains why the book is called Mug by Seagulls, which everybody asks me, why did I name it that particular title? And what I'll say is, if you read the first chapter, you'll understand why, and that sets the tone of what I'm trying to get from the book. Okay, so I'm really excited about it. I'm purposely delaying the release of this book until probably at least fall of this year. I'm trying to get us to a place where we're vaccinated and, you know, things start to relax and we can do like book signings and parties and things like that, and we have all that. And if that happens, then great. If it doesn't, it's evergreen content. It's just going to sit there. It's not going to change. So I'll just put it on a shelf and know that it's working fine there. If you are curious of other stuff that I'm working on, I do have some other like mini projects that I have started. Just so you know, like I get ideas of things that I want to write. So what I have is this folder here called WHIP, and it basically says WHIP, it's work in progress. And so these are the ideas that I have. I've got this idea for Seagulls. I have a book about Seagulls. I have a book about just simply called Answers, which is not a superhero story. I don't want to call him a superhero. He's not a superhero. He's a man with a very particular gift. Not like Liam Neeson in his, particular set of skills, but his skill is to answer questions, and you can ask him anything you want. But there's certain things about what happens in his story that we get to learn about him and his history and the things that have happened to him. And so it's an array into fiction writing, because I've been doing a lot of nonfiction. I have some book ideas around my youth. I have a really interesting idea about taking something from my own youth, using 4 characters from my youth as the basis for a sort of different Stand By Me story. That story is probably not going to be looked at for a while, but I have some really neat ideas for it. I do have a story here about something called Gravella Island, which I've been holding on to that for years, longer than I ever had the concept for Answers, but I have been holding on to it for quite a while, and that'll get worked on eventually. And then I do have a story here called Nice Guys Finish Last, which is probably the first piece of fiction I ever tried to write in the most recent years. So this is dated, well, this one says 2020-09. I don't know if there's an original date I can put on here. Date created. It says 10/19. I don't think that's true. I think it's 5 or 6 years back. It's probably just in a different folder. I've been picking away at that story for a long, long time, and it's inspired by the nice guy who can't get the girl and why that happens and what kind of ensues from there. So I've got lots of book ideas and just different things that I'd like to experiment with. I really want to get Just a Regular Guy out there. And actually, just recently, I had an idea for a nonfiction book based on some South Park content. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but we'll see what happens. All right. That's it for me, because I can feel a little bit of the sleep medication I took kicking in, because this is the time for me to be asleep. So I think I should sleep. So sign off, everybody. Have a great night, and talk to you soon.